What is up, everybody? Happy Thursday. My name's Matt. I'm the Awakening Angler, and I'm here on Oneida Lake this morning. So I've been doing a little bit of everything this morning. I hope to show you something here with any luck. I fished 3 spots this morning. I trolled through 2 spots. I jigged through 2 spots. And I'm in the 3rd spot that I trolled through and then came back up to jig. My goal in trolling was to be able to graph to, not just on my machine, but using your rods as fish finders as well. I had my spread really spread out with planer boards. So I was covering a pretty good sized piece of water, and I was looking to see, and I went through 2 areas where it was just mark after mark, and one of those 2 areas I doubled on shorts. I went a little farther and I hit another one that was a little better, still short, and it was just nonstop marks on the screen that didn't look like small fish marks. So I went about another half mile with nothing, and I pulled the trolling program and ran back up. That was about 10 a.m. Ran back up, relocated this school of fish, and now I've been on them through 2 wind changes for the last 2 hours. And I've caught, 10 fish, 2 keepers. But the picture has been lights out. Now this wind all morning. It was light from the northwest to the northwest, and then it switched a little after 10, and it turned to the north, and then went past that to the northeast, and puffed for a few minutes, half an hour, not hard, just enough to turn the boat around. Then it died, came all the way around. It's now behind me out of the southwest. So I faced every direction out here so far today. And I'm deep. I'm in 27 to 30 foot of water on a big flat off the main channel. And it's filthy with them. I thought, honestly, I was going to get them better than I did trolling. And I really wanted to get them better trolling. But then once I saw the concentration of them, I'm like, well, I gotta turn around and go get the jigging rods. And now that was this morning. It was overcast. It is much sunnier now in the last 20 minutes, and there you can see the line of clouds, and behind me to the west is bright blue, beautiful sky. And I started out with Homie the Clown, my favorite color, pattern, blade bait. And he went to work, but on all shorts. Perch, big perch, and small walleyes. Homie was all about that this morning. And then I said, you know what? I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. He came to see me and pick up his prize money. Jim Newardowski. I've known Jimmy. I've known Jim's dad. I've known Jimmy since he was a young man. 12 years old. Met him at the gun club many years ago when we all shot at Toad Harbor Rod and Gun Club. His father, Dave, who unfortunately has passed a couple years ago prematurely from that terrible C word. Jimmy placed on the main leaderboard and took second in the number 5 optional leaderboard for the first responder military one. And stupid bug flew right in my mouth. And there were some other prizes that went with it. He had a bump board and a couple certificates. And so he came to my house yesterday. And we were talking about fishing. Talked about a lot of stuff. And we had a wonderful conversation. And he is a excellent young man. And he's made his mom and dad very proud. He's a Syracuse police officer. he's a Syracuse police officer, and the gentleman that was killed in the line of duty was his friend, and they came in together, and they knew each other very well. Jimmy donated his whole prize check. It was $306 from the 2 places that he won. Jimmy donated his whole prize check. Jim Mitchell, the United States Navy vet who won number 5 optional leaderboard, he donated his prize money. So we're pushing $1,000 right now in prize money. We're going to donate that this week to the PBA, Syracuse PBA fund for the 2 fallen officers' families. I know $1,000 might not seem like a lot, but I'm sure any little bit helps. So thank you, Jimmy. But beyond that, we got talking about jig fishing and fishing in general. But he's like, right now I typically, if I'm jigging, he goes, I'm not power jigging it or snap jigging them, bucktails I mean. He says, normally I'm just kind of dragging it and loping it. And then we got talking about a couple of the old timers that used to be at our gun club, Bob Howard, Nelson Pratt. And there were some guys, some of the old guys there that had been fishing this lake since the 40s and 50s. They were incredible fishermen, and they used to tell you if you told them you moved that jig, that bucktail, more than about 6 inches off the bottom, the worst insult they could give you was they would say you're a bass fisherman, because they would have been mortified by this power snap jigging stuff that we do now. It works, but they were really all about finesse and just doing this along the bottom with that jig. So that inspired me this morning when I stopped and I found them pretty good. I said, I want to fish a jig. So I rigged up real quick my JT rods. This is a new rod for me this year. This is the JTX 7'1" mag medium light. This is, so action wise, it's a medium light as opposed to a medium or medium heavy. That's the action. Medium light, 7'1", and this rod is amazing. So I said, well, I want to throw a jig. This is a 1/2 ounce brown belly, black back jig this was custom tied by Rick out at Apps, and I'll give Apps and Rick a quick plug. It's a small bait shop with a lot of stuff. If you haven't been to Apps and went out and saw Rick and his staff out there and looked at all the baits they have, incredible selection of all jigging minnows, shiver minnows especially. He's got them all. A whole wall of his own custom jigs. So I took one of Rick's 1/2 ounce and I tipped it with 2 different things. One of which was the green pumpkin flatworm power bait. I was having fish short biting and pulling the tail off. So then I went to something that's got a little bit more durability. I went to one of these impulse leeches. And it's just that on the bottom. And I'm just creeping it along the bottom. Literally, figuratively, I'm bouncing it a little bit. And 2 things are happening. And I'm watching the line very closely as it falls. As that line falls, it's tight. As soon as it hits bottom, it bellies. Like this, it goes, boom. And I'm watching that line as I'm doing it, and I'm just moving my tip like this. Now, granted, it's very calm today, but even in heavy water, you can still focus in that same way. And I'm watching that line. It's telling me everything. And some of these bites today have been good enough, hard enough that you'll see the line straighten right out. You've got all the time in the world to take up the slack and grab them, The ones that have been tricky for me today, and I went to this presentation because I tried a shiver minnow, I fished the blade, I caught fish on the blade, but no big fish. And so I'm like, wow, maybe they're a little off. This weather's a little wonky. We got a high pressure system coming with a cold front behind it at some point in the next day or two. The wind, like I said, has shifted 3 times today. So all of those things don't usually contribute to a great walleye bite anywhere. But there's plenty of them here, and the only way I could get them to bite today was just creeping it along the bottom. And a lot of my bites, there's only been 2 keepers. You bring that tip up, and you just start to bring it up, and you feel it load. And you got 2 choices there. You gotta gauge if you think that they've had it long enough to just set them, or if you gotta drop that tip back to them, reel up a little bit of slack, and then hit them. So they've had a little time to hopefully regather that bait, flip it around, suck it in, and then you get a good hook set. It's been a lot of fun, and in this deep of water, it takes a little while to get things down there. Patience not always my strong suit, but it's been rewarded today, and it's been fun. It's been very finesse orientated, and I'm tuned right in. You guys, I can't show you both, but I'm tuned right into my tip, and I'm watching that line, and I'm feeling everything in my handle right there, and I'm hunched over. I'm in a positive forward aggressive position, because the minute I feel anything different, I'm going to crack them. And sometimes on the way up, when you feel them, you got to keep coming hard and come all the way up like that, and really stay up high on them for that first second, and do your damnedest to drive that hook home. That's key. And then on those where you don't have good hook sets, you can't give them even a millisecond of slack, or it'll back right out, because the hook was never really in there. And you can also tell on the first few fish how they are. Are they inside, point inside, coming out like this? That to me is your ultimate, because they went and sucked it right in, no questions asked. The couple I've had have been on the corner of the mouth. And that, I think, is one of those in passing. They just shake their head at it, and I happen to catch it. Or the minute they felt it, they started to shake their head, and it didn't get loose. I came up on them, and it got them like that. Hard to say. These are all theoretical. But all my bites, I was just on the phone with my wife for over an hour. We're shooting the breeze and yada-da, and I caught a bunch of fish while I was on the phone with her, and I was listening to her and talking, but then I also knew exactly what was going on. And the minute you felt anything, it was get up, get that hook point up in them. And so today, in my opinion, where I was, I'm in 29 foot of water right now, 58 degrees on the surface. It was 55, 56 out here at first light when I got out here. The wind's been all around the thing, so that I can't really, wind's not really an issue right at the moment. It's been light in 3 different directions. And I had to finesse the living crap out of them today. Now, I'll bet you could have done the same thing today with a Ned rig on the bottom. Maybe even a drop shot rig that you could have fished painfully slow all the way back, kept that bait like this off the bottom, that far, and just walked it back through what I assume are just fish laying on the bottom out there. And you're walking them through. It's like walking through the lion's den. Some days you can't get them to attack, and other days you can't stop them from attacking. But it has been fun. I caught a giant pumpkin seed this morning, trolling on a flicker shad. Then I caught one jigging a shiver minnow, another big pumpkin seed, big bright orange. God, bright orange, beautiful. I love those fish. They're so gorgeous. They're just so beautiful. I caught a bass trolling. I didn't get him in, but he jumped 3 times behind the boat when he smacked the flicker minnow. Those Berkeley flicker minnows and flicker shad, they catch fish. That action is deadly. Factory colors right out of the package, they catch fish. Always have. I've been fishing them since they came out, 15 years. Then I switched over to this bucktail and trailer, plastic trailer that I was showing you. I knew I wanted something straight. You could just as easily put a paddle tail on that jig and do the same exact thing. It's just giving it a little flutter. You know, we got the mayfly starting. I haven't seen any yet, but it's that time of year, and they're down there moving around in the bottom. And don't kid yourself, those fish are eating them. For a while, I fished a little black swim bait, dragged it on the bottom. I didn't get bit, but I figured it was the right size for a big mayfly larva, and something might have eaten it. You could probably drag a tube out here right now and catch smallmouth and walleye, but I bet you'd catch these walleyes dragging a tube too. All right, I'm going to go. That'll do it for today. Let's do one last cast. Last cast for love. I don't know if you could make that a rock and roll song or not, but all right, she just hit bottom. And so today has been very back to the old days for me, and trying to carefully hop that jig through the water so as to not, fish just jumped over there, so as to not pull your worm off. Because again, in those days it was black and purple bucktail and half a worm. Oh yeah, right there, righto there. Feels pretty good. He's perfect. He's not enormous. But he was right. That fish was right in the top of the mouth, but just like he was just there when I came up on it. That was last cast. Look at that little bar gold. Look at how pretty his tip of his tail is. See you guys later. I'll see you later, and I'll see you later. Keep your tip up.